Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. So in this program, we're going to be talking about the emails that everybody has been talking about, the quote-unquote threatening emails that were sent to Government Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. She revealed on Friday by former Senator A.J. Nicholson. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about harassment, what is harassment, and the elephant in the room as well, the issue of MP George Wright. What is happening with that situation? What should happen with that situation? So do stay with us throughout the program. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Joyce Hewitt, the Executive Director of Woman Inc. Also, the Reverend Dr. Garnet Roper, social commentator, former PNP advisor, Saeed Bernard, law student and social commentator, and Tajna Lee Shields, communications advocacy officer at the advocacy group We Change. Before we go to our guests, though, let's go to this overview with Javon Keys.
The refusal of opposition senators to support a statement denouncing violence against women unraveled into a sparring match between the lawmakers of both sides of the Senate on April 23. The backdrop, a video showing government member of Parliament George Wright allegedly beating a woman. It then became an issue of the government not adequately addressing that matter.
The reality is, unless there's a resignation, the stain will be on all of us. But your side will stand more condemned for doing nothing to remove the stain from the parliament of a parliamentarian beating a woman.
In this specific case, Wright is wrong.
Right is wrong. Say it again.
Then, leader of government business, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith rose.
That there was a member, a colleague of yours on that side who had started to send me harassing emails and who I had to report to the police. And I was even advised to stop running for a period of time. And I reached a point where the issue was now whether to issue a public charge, to go public with it. The police were clear that cybercrime was being committed. It was clear I was in fear, and they recognized it as justifiable.
She decided not to take legal action, but the when and by whom were not shared, prompting numerous calls for the release of the emails in question and the naming of the alleged aggressor.
I hope, Minister, after the period of mourning, you will bring some emails to the Parliament to support the damaging allegation you made against people who sat among us as opposition senator.
Opposition Senator Lambert Brown made that request at the May 14 sitting of the Upper House. In a personal statement, Mrs. Johnson-Smith obliged, naming former People's National Party PNP Senator A.J. Nicholson as the person who harassed her via email. She made reference to the 2014 flexi rape controversy. During the October 2014 debates on flexible work arrangements, then Senator Marlene Malahoo Fort shared concern that women could be more prone to be raped and harmed at nights. Mr. Nicholson made the sotto voce comment, flexi rape, stirring outrage from then opposition JLP and citizens. Nicholson later apologized. He also sent Senator Johnson-Smith emails, the 2014 emails released by Senator Lambert Brown in an attempt to show there had been no harassment. Johnson-Smith made it clear those weren't the emails in question. She said she received more emails on August 6 and September 3, 2018.
The title of the first was, in caps, Corruption, suspension points, Bruised Karma. Largely about matters unrelated to me, but having a section about a gleeful opposition senator mercilessly calling me out for sotto voce mumblings of flexi rape from my seat. The latter phrase indicated that the flexi rape debacle was still a concern for this person, and he still saw me at the heart of it. The second mail was of greater concern, and more so given the paragraph from the previous one. It had the subject, in caps, rape, suspension points, real suspension points, rape, ending with the word, karma, more to come.
Senator Johnson Smith says it was the context of the 2014 emails and the gestures which followed that raised her alert level. Mrs. Johnson Smith says she only responded to one of the two emails.
I replied only to that email of the 23rd on the same day, advising him to cease and desist from writing to me. I also sent the emails to the police. He responded to my cease and desist request, stating that he would not write further, but in a way which gave no other comfort. He said, "The truth," in caps, "is what makes you uncomfortable. Face it," in caps. "You will have to live with it uncomfortably. You will never," in caps, "be allowed to forget."
The opposition is questioning Minister Smith's intent, given calls for the Jamaica Labour Party to take stronger action in relation to embattled Member of Parliament George Wright. The emails have since been published, revealing that Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett had been copied on them. Former Senator A.J. Nicholson published a release.
I state categorically that no harassment or threatening emails exist from me to the Senator or to anyone else.
He has also denied being warned by the police. Javon Keys for All Angles.
All right, thank you so much. One correction, my apologies. The 2014 emails, while referencing Senator Johnson Smith, were written by Mr. Nicholson to then Senator Marlene Malahoo Fort, following the flexi, and referenced as well that issue. Okay, so once again, my apologies for that. Remember, our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. So let me go to my guest, and I think one of the issues that I've heard being discussed has been the whole definition of harassment. People are debating, do these letters consist of harassment? And we saw them published, the newspapers, various newspapers, the other media houses nationwide and so on, have published all the emails. So let me first ask, though, Ms. Hewitt, let me start with you. What is harassment? Somebody says, I've been harassed. I've been getting harassing emails. What is harassment?
Well, harassment is a form of abuse, and it can take the form of threats, direct threats, and also subtle threats. Generally, it is repeat in terms of the action, and it is done to put the person on notice or to make them not only uncomfortable, but something that is to make them feel that, in fact, they are going to be under some level of threat. And if the person who is receiving what they perceive to be the harassment, of course, that becomes the essence of it. So that it can be many forms. Of course, we have sexual harassment, which is the form that generally takes place in the workplace as well as in public, on the buses, etc. But when it is subtle, like in the form of written messages, it is just that. It is subtle, but if it is perceived as any kind of a threat by the receiver, of course, it constitutes harassment.
Okay. I pulled up just a couple of dictionary definitions as well, just for context. For instance, Merriam-Webster says to annoy persistently, to create an unpleasant or hostile situation, especially by uninvited or unwelcome verbal or physical conduct. Oxford calls it intimidation, bullying, threatening, or coercive behavior, including manner of speech. Cambridge says behavior that annoys or upsets someone. So the question again, and then the debate is, do the emails referenced rise to the level of harassment? I've heard some people say yes, I've heard some people say no. For my viewers who haven't had a chance to see them, the 2018 email that the minister referred to in the Senate called, entitled or captioned perhaps, I should say, Rape, Real Rape. Mr. Nicholson says in that email, ministers, why I didn't report it. The cue is who gets to tell the true story. There is by every measure a recognizable coincidence of approach to rape, real rape, that characterizes the thinking of leadership in both the White House and Jamaica House. The red carpet has been spread for perpetrators by today's occupants of both governments. Surely you remember, not easily forgotten. Michelle would have told Obama that regardless of his private views, he can't be seen at a press conference in those circumstances. Rape is causing unusual havoc and turmoil in both capitals, though on notably different fronts and devastating outcomes. Karma, more to come. Mrs. Johnson Smith responded by asking him to immediately cease and desist, and spoke of the menace emanating from the emails and said it made her feel extremely uncomfortable at best and threatened at worst. Mr. Nicholson responded to that again, saying her command would be obeyed but questioning. Said, first grant me this menace, uncomfortable, threatened by my emails. He questioned, he said he would feel put upon if he said anything in those emails, if it was untrue, which may amount to an offense but not a sin. He said the truth is what makes you uncomfortable. Minister, face it, you will have to live with it. He said you will never be allowed to forget, and he said he was happy, or satisfied rather, that his message hit the spot and that his colleague with her colleague with far more experience knows exactly what he's about and the long-term repercussions. Don't bother to ask him, he'll carry a wide. That was copied to Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett. All right, so I have to say, Mr. Nicholson put out a statement subsequently saying he was referencing the fact that two members of the JLP met with a convicted rapist, a Jamaican now living in Qatar, who came to Jamaica, they were photographed with him and so on. And that is what he was referring to in these emails. All right. I'm trying to figure out that expression on your face, Ms. Hewitt. What is it? Hearing me, Ms. Hewitt? All right, perhaps she's not hearing me. All right, let me come then to Saeed Bernard. Saeed Bernard, what do you think? Does this rise to the level of harassment?
I wasn't hearing you earlier, Dion. Could you repeat what you were saying?
Does this rise to the level of harassment? The 2018 emails.
So I looked at the emails and given the context and the background and the parliamentary setting and the conversation being had, in a monologue per se by AJ, I on the face of it, it doesn't seem threatening or a fear of life. But I can understand as well that having unsolicited emails being sent to your account could actually annoy the person in such a way, as she had shown in her previous email as well, where she did not want to be emailed in such a manner. And so, that was her feeling toward it. And, you cannot dispute her feeling toward it and, what level of feeling did she have toward it. But what I will say, though, is that what was being spewed about as it relates to its threatening nature, I've read all emails about 3 times, and I'm not so convinced that they're threatening.
What do you think, Tajna Shields?
So I agree with the first part of what Saeed said. There was obviously discomfort, and on top of that is the fact that Senator Johnson Smith did add that the emails were in a particular context. It had to do with situations that were happening around that and side conversations as well. So what I'd say is that while I can see parts of the emails that might have come across as uncomfortable for Senator Kamina Smith, I cannot be the judge of whether or not it warrants harassment.
All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to come back to the others right after the break, but let me just take the break, do a little bit of business, and you can WhatsApp us. Our WhatsApp number is 3810072, 3810072. Give me your first name, give me a general location, and remember you can tweet us as well. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. Stay tuned, we'll soon come.